Okay, welcome. So, episode 39 of the Freedom Hustle podcast with me, John, and Andy.
Hello.
And from the freedomskillsacademy.com. So, Andy, how you doing? You all right?
That's a kind of a question to ask an Englishman who's now gone into the European final.
Wow, yeah, unbelievable.
Yes, what a game that was last night. First time since 1966 we've gone into any form of final. So yes, it's quite good. I suppose I can ask you how you feeling, but I'm sure it's pretty much the same.
Same, yeah. I mean, like you say, I sort of feel for our generation and the older generation who have, because the young kids that have watched it last night, they think this is how good England are, whereas we've lived through the hell, of 40 years of not getting nothing, and then they've sort of got it easy, really, haven't they? But
we've had a lot of disappointment. We've had a lot of good teams. We've had a lot of disappointment. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I've seen a lot of people now moaning about. We've had a lot of people moaning about the penalty, but then when you think of like Maradona's hand of God and that Lampard goal against Germany in 2010, which was
like 2 foot over the line, yeah.
We've had all these problems, but then last night,
we did get a bit of the luck. Definitely.
We did have a referee, but we also had VAR who looked into it. He might have not gone to the monitor himself, but there's obviously other people who looked and said, they were hindered and they were brought down. Whether it was a mad tackle, but they were brought down.
Well, yeah. Anyway, we don't care at the moment.
No, we don't. We're in the final.
So that aside, I can't think of a way we can sort of lean into tonight's podcast from that. There isn't really a way. But anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about, you can lead in. So what are we going to be talking about?
Well, basically, I mean, you titled it nicely. You called them Nano products, which I think is a great little title because we talk about publishing information, digital products, all these kinds of things. And this is a nano product, which basically it's a cheap product you have on your website, which you sell, obviously. But it's great for a combination of things because you're selling it cheap, so you're starting to get customers. It helps earn sort of running costs, and it also gives you a bit more motivation as well because once you're starting to get a few people buying your products, you feel better. Because you remember in the old days you used to blog for like months on end and get no money from advertising because you had no readers. But having a little product also it kind of gives you a bit of an expertise. You seem like an expert in a certain field or a certain sort of knowledge on something. And so these are little nano products, which are basically like an ebook, which you are selling for, sort of to £10, I suppose, sort of £7, £8, £3. The one that I was selling just recently was only for £2.99, but it was only a short 38-page PDF.
Yeah. So that's the sort of thing we're talking about. So just something small, something that you can knock up in a couple of days maybe, or a few evenings. And then, like you say, you can package it together. It doesn't have to be, all, absolutely perfection, absolutely perfect. Just something that's nice, something that, ticks a few boxes, solves a few problems, is an easy, quick read. And like you say, a no frills. I guess when you say pricing it at like $2.99, $5.99, that sort of low entry, you're not going to get like what we were talking about this just before. You called it like a sort of bliss price, don't you? Because it's unlikely to get refunds. Let's face it, it's £2, £3.
It's pocket money.
People are not going to care that much about it. They're going to buy it. It's also got that kind of spontaneous purchase sort of ability about it, isn't it? People can land on the sales page, or even if it's not a sales page, it could just be like a little paragraph or a little video or something, and then the product, and then they might not even think twice about it. They might just go, I want to see what that is, a bit of curiosity. Even they might just buy it because of that. And like you say, you're getting quite a few good things from these little products, aren't you? I don't know if you want to talk about that because we were just mentioning it, weren't we, before we come on?
Yeah, I mean, this product I'm talking about, this is one that was done for a case study for a product I'm creating for a client. And the whole idea is to show how you can create a short product and basically an automated, fully functioning passive income stream within 30 days or less. Now, basically, I was working on it here and there, and I would say that in total, the amount of time I spent on the whole process, which is creating the book, the 38-page PDF, the sales information, the sales letter, the sales page, the download page, it took me less than a week.
Yeah, so that's
in total. So within a week, I had a product online on the website, and I have, if I take myself out of it for the testing, so it's only been up since, what are we now? We're just into July. So it was the end of, I'd say the beginning of June. I've had 66 purchases, 66 sales. Okay.
Yep.
I'm using Stripe as the payment platform, mainly because PayPal is a nightmare to create buttons. There is a downside to Stripe, and that is that when you click on the button, it's not necessarily one-click purchase. So you do have to sort of fill in your details, which might put a few people off, because I've obviously had a lot of people go to the sales page, because within the dashboard, you can see complete and incomplete sales. And there's been quite a few incomplete sales. So potentially I could have sold more. But
what do you think they are then? What's that?
What, sorry?
What do you think? Why do you think that is, the incomplete sales?
I think also because it's a case study, because part of the case study is that email has been sent out saying that if you want to look at what a system looks like, not necessarily promoting the book, we were promoting the actual idea. So I think people have gone and had a look, tested the button, and like, oh, okay, that works fine. Not necessarily done the purchase. But with Stripe at $2.99, they basically take out 24p. You get $2.74 per sale. But as I say, like to me, this is
ish, roughly, about that.
It's not a huge amount.
8-9%,
yeah, and it's you're not paying for manufacturing costs. You're not paying for having to post or anything like that. And it's just automatically, once you set up the payment button, you are set up so that when soon as the payment is finished, they are sent to a success page or the download page, where they download the product. And so I wrote an email yesterday talking about this, and it's kind of, I used the analogy of, like, imagine you're going out for a walk, and while you're going out for a walk, you've got a couple of pounds in your pocket, you're going to go for a coffee. By the time you get to the coffee, you find that your coat pocket is full of money, and you can't figure out where this money's come from. And then just as you're about to pay for the coffee, someone just walks up behind you, puts a couple of quid in your pocket and walks off. And that's what these products are like. It's basically, it's online. And while you're doing everything else, people are just coming along, clicking, buying it, and just putting like £2, £3, £4, £5 into your bank. And the great thing about Stripe, which I think really this needs sort of encouraging, is that they automatically deposit the money into your bank after 7 days of the sale.
Okay.
So,
so you can set up like a threshold so that it'll, I don't know, once you reach $100 or something like that, or is it just, how does it work?
I don't really know. Basically, it's just as soon as you set up your account, you set up your Stripe button, and once you connect
Stripe's
your
not
bank,
like PayPal in the sense that it doesn't hold.
No,
it's not a bank per se. It's more of a
payment processor.
Yeah, okay.
Merchant account. So basically, all they do is once you've had a sale, they hold on to it for 7 days, which I think is probably due for refund, because they have to refund the money back if need be. But basically, you have the sale, and then 7 days later, you end up with the money in your deposit in your bank.
If you're making sales every day, after a week, you're going to start getting paid every day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, like you say, you've set up you've wrote a little ebook, or a little, a short PDF or a checklist, or I don't know, a little couple of videos or whatever it is you can do for this kind of, these sort of short nano products. And then, you've put it together. I mean, we've talked about this. We've got websites. We've got our own joint websites. We've got our individual websites. Obviously in your case, you've put it on our website, haven't you? But I suppose, there are other options, aren't there? You could. I've heard of it. There's a website called Gumroad, which allows you to sell stuff. The other kind of old, back in the day ones is like, JV Zoo, Warrior Forum, them sort of places. Again, they you sort of host it with them, if you like. So you know what I mean? You'll kind of use their payment buttons and this, that, and the other. And it's no different, really. You can charge whatever you want. However, there will be a few little things, I think, that are different. Obviously, there'll be fees involved, more fees involved. If you're using a third party, such as, JVZoo and whatever, there's going to be fees. But
I think with JVZoo and places like that, again, you still need to promote that website, and they get lost in the marketplace, especially with like the Warrior Forum. There's always new stuff going on there. With your website, now, I think one of the things, a couple of the important things you must remember if you're going to put it on your website is that you're building yourself as a particular brand or service. So people are coming to look for my website because of the services that I offer and things that they've seen me doing other things. And like this podcast, for example, people might go, who's that Andy Lehman English fellow or whatever, talking about football and ranting on about stuff. So they may go looking for me and they'll find the website and they'll find the product.
We don't talk about football on the podcast, by the way.
No. But it's a rarity. We're going to milk it. So people are coming to you. So if you put it on your own website, you've got a greater chance of it being seen because it's going to be prominent on your website. Whereas, like you say, Warrior Forum, it could soon disappear or get lost within the noise and chatter. But with yours, if you're building up a name as well, it kind of helps with that. So another thing I wanted to point out as well, with doing it on your own website, a website can cost around about, I think if you look at, say, SiteGround hosting for one website and a domain name, you're looking at possibly 150 quid for 2 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Which is about 20 pence a day, if I remember working it out rightly. So since this thing went online, since this product went online, now I will be honest, because it's obviously part of a case study, we gave it a bit of a boost on an email list, which helps get some of the sales. But this month alone has paid for that hosting. So basically everything now,
2 years now, exactly, yeah.
For the whole of the next 2 years, for the next 23 months, everything after that is basically profit apart from the fees that Stripe take out.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so that's...
And I don't want to sound like we're a broken record, but this point needs reiterating time and time again. We say this all the time, and this is exactly the beauty of a digital product. It's like Andy's just said, he's created this little guide, book, PDF once. He's done it. He's finished it. It's done. And it's already sold now, 60, 70 odd times, and it will just keep on selling now for as long as it's up, as long as people land on that page, as long as and that's the beauty of this. If sales die off for maybe 6 months, if it's a bit of an I think it's a bit of we have talked about it before. We don't want to say too much about it, but it is an evergreen product. So it's something that you could then in 6 months' time, you could just email out again.
Exactly.
And then again, and you haven't got to do no more work now. You've not got to paint another picture or sit down and write another song, or it's done. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's it. Make it once, sell it multiple times.
Yeah, and the other thing, like I said earlier about the analogy of having coins put in your pocket while you're out, it actually happened the other day. I was out having coffee in Sheffield. I was out for a meeting, and I got a notification of a sale. So I mean, I'm not actually physically having to make a sale because it happened automatically.
It does it. Yeah.
And but going on to other things, like we said, we've talked about. Like I said, we don't be a broken record, but these things are important. With the ebook now done and finished as a PDF online, you can then put in that ebook links to other products, other services, to even a landing page. And the other thing is, with this ebook, I actually put a opt-in form underneath the book on the delivery page. So when people pay, they land on the delivery page, because it's kind of a bit backwards in some ways, because normally you try and catch an email before you try and build a list to sell to. But this way you're just selling automatically. But there is an opt-in form on there so people can opt into the email list as well. So I'm utilizing that. But you can do that within the book. Send a link to another free book or another free product. But I won't be surprised as well. I've not really looked into it. Like I say, this is just for doing a sort of a course. But I'm sure, like you said, there's probably a way of integrating Stripe with sort of Aweber or something like that. So you get an email at source.
Yeah, there 100% is. there's loads of there's tools out there. One of them is called Zapier. I've not used it, but I know of it, and that is it's a kind of a sort of a middleman between tools. So if you've got, say in your case, you've got Stripe and Aweber, they'll just say that's the example. So Stripe being the payment processor and Aweber being the email marketing, software. You can set it up so that basically whenever there's a payment that goes through, it triggers your Stripe so that email address gets pinged over to your list automatically. There will obviously be fees involved. These sort of tools, they're not going to be free, but
no,
I know that there are ways around it. And that leads us nicely into what you were just saying, and what we should sort of highlight again, and that is these are buyers. We've talked about tire kickers before, and people who are a little bit interested in your stuff, but they're not really that bothered. They're just here for the free stuff. They'll come and take all the free stuff that you ever promote, and then they'll never buy anything. And that happens a lot, which is fine. But what you're getting is, even though it's only a couple of pounds, £2, £3, £4, £5, whatever, they've had to physically take their credit card out and buy that.
They've made a commitment.
That's a commitment. Exactly. That is a commitment to you to say that these guys are interested. And they are the best people to have, like you say, on email lists and, in your, however you do your marketing, email marketing, social media, whatever. They're the best people you want to follow you, because, like you say, they're prepared to do it. They know what to do, and they're committed, if you like you say.
It's easier to sell to somebody who's already bought from you in the past.
Yeah.
Because if they like your product, it's less risky. They kind of they already have a knowledge of what you deliver. So just going back to the email list, I was trying to keep this case study quite simple. It was for the process of the product. So that's why we've not connected anything to taking the emails. But had I done that with the 66 sales that we've had, that would have been 66 people on an email list of buyers. And that, like I say, if that was connected now over the next 2 years, just leave that as it is, then it can grow. But like you say, because it's evergreen, if you've got an email list growing, you can then send it out to, if you've got a different email list, you can send it out. But I was going to say something. Oh, yeah, the sales letter as well, because it's all online. You can change the sales letter over the next year or two, because once you've done the initial work, if you need to change things around or try new things, like when I originally got it launched, I had an image on the sales letter, but then looking at it, I'm thinking, I'm not sure that's going to work, so I removed it. But it only takes a second. It's using Elementor. We like to use Elementor, which is a page builder. We have templates that we upload, and it is just so easy. Once you've done the basics, then any changing or duplicating and testing, which again is things that we've talked about in previous podcasts. If you haven't heard them, have a listen, because they're all vital. But everything is just so much easier these days. It is, if you can do it, create yourself a little nano product just to put on your website, just to help with the running costs, because not only do you learn a lot from it, but there's so much, it's just so easy.
I used to do it. And my last year, when I first started out, I had a blog with my own years and years ago. I'm talking years. It's not live anymore. I'm a little bit annoyed about that. I really wish I'd have kept it going. But I used to have a blog. It's kind of how we met, really, wasn't it? In the sort of blogging game.
I remember it.
And I used to do exactly that. I had a little page of products, and they'd be stuff like, I used to just go trawling through all the PLR products and pick what I would consider to be the best ones, and then sort of merge them all together and make my own little products. And I'd put stuff like 3,000 fonts together, or a little pack of graphics and just stuff like that. And I'd sell it, like you say, like £2, £3. And it's amazing how many times you get by. Another one I had, which was nothing to do with the niche I was in, but I compiled a list of Christmas articles.
I was going to say PLR. That. I remember that.
They were just PLR articles I just bundled all together, and I just boxed them up and I shoved them up and put them online. And every year, about 3 or 4 months before Christmas, I'd always start making these sales.
You still get sales, don't you?
You just get random sales. Yeah, they just every now and again, like someone would buy one. And it's cheap. It was like $17, actually fairly expensive considering what it is. But and every now and again, you just get a little sale, and it was like, oh, like you say, you can just, and if anything's wrong with it or you want to change it, gone are the days of, for example, like I don't want to plug this, but like your book behind you there, let's just say you want to tweak that now. You haven't had to go to the publishing house and buy 1,000 copies of that, before, and then sell them all and then hope that you break even or make some profit on it. That's all print on demand. So if anyone goes to buy that, Amazon will print it. So it's just as easy for you to change that book. You could literally, I don't like that paragraph. I'm just going to edit that out. Dang, take it down, upload it again in an afternoon, and it's done. It's live again.
Yeah.
And no one's affected by it. You haven't had to buy 500 copies of it. Nothing's, and it's the same, what you say about Nano products, sales pages, any little tweaks like that, which is why, again, we go on about perfection, and trying to seek perfection is not a good move. And the chances are you're going to change stuff anyway. I've done it. You've done it. It's what happens.
Well, I was looking at one of our ebooks, which one of them we're giving away free on the website. I noticed that there was a couple of spelling errors in there. So I went to the Google Docs, which I've been using to write it in, and I made a few alterations. So I just need now to convert that into a PDF and upload it to the hosting to replace the one that's there. Which basically, I remember doing this not so long back with another product. You're like, oh, I need to do that. So I went to the Google Docs, change it to convert it to PDF, upload it to the hosting. It probably took me less than 10 minutes. The thought of the job is actually far worse than it is itself. And it was like, and I was like, well, it just took, it was super quick. And so that's the beautiful thing about things today. It's just ridiculous. I just think it's one of them things where the money is better off in your product, in your pocket, than somebody else's. And for what's involved, you might as well just do it. It's because I said the couple sales that I had the other day while I was out paid for what I was spending on my coffee, which is, you can sit there and say, well, that's not huge. It's not a huge lot of money, but I was going to pay like £3 or £4 for those coffees anyway. But now I've got it coming in, that's covered. But it's going to go on now for the next few years. I'm just going to, like you say, Christmas time, you make sales of your $17 Christmas packet. You haven't done anything to that for that. I mean,
no.
You're talking about probably like 10 years ago, aren't you?
Literally, yeah. There's a lot of Christmas articles on the internet that are very similar. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just one of those things that I think some of the hardest things is for people to get their heads around. And I think we're fortunate because we're in the generation now where we're bridging the gap. We remember when the internet started, when a web page was basically just a big multi-bright coloured image with the title on it, something, like when AOL was around. But we're at that age where we knew the old way of making money and the new way of making money, and but it's fascinating, but it's so simple, easy, because like you say, print on demand. We haven't got to print thousands of direct mail. Copywriters, used to write mail that was going to be sent through the post, and they had to have little techniques to get the envelope opened and everything be printed off. If you needed to change the headline, because you were sending out like test amounts would be like 1,000, 5,000 copies of a sales letter through the post. If you needed to change that and test it again, then you'd have to print off another 1,000, another 5,000.
Yeah.
And we don't need to do that.
No. And another good example of these sort of mini products and is one that we mentioned back a while ago, which is the sort of templates and stuff. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and a lady was making good money and very clever and very shrewd. She sort of jumped on the COVID wave a little bit. She was doing it was all digital. So it started off as like templates for like, Canva and Pinterest and, social media graphics and journals and, all that sort of stuff. And then when COVID sort of struck, she noticed a lot of companies and businesses, they all had to be sort of COVID compliant, didn't they? You know, so she started putting together packs, like COVID packs. So it'd be like, you know, wear your mask, all your basic stuff, wash your hands here. She'd do like a form, which basically, you know, if any visitors are coming into the building, if they got there, you know, if you just got to sign a disclaimer to basically say you haven't had COVID in the last week or whatever it is. So easy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and like you say, she was putting all that together. People could do that themselves. But this is another thing that people don't realize. It's just as easy. I could look at that and go, well, I'm a company owner. I'm just going to do that myself. But people have got to get out of that mindset, because we haven't got a clue what people's situations are. The CEO or whatever of a company that's making millions of pounds, right, has got no interest in opening up a Word document and writing all that stuff out himself. He'd just go and get someone to buy it. Go and get it, even if it's $20. They've got they're not. It doesn't even enter their heads. So, you know, people have got to get out of that mindset of, oh, well, you could just make it. You could just make it, but you know, people would rather just buy it. So anyway, yeah, and she was selling that. She done amazing. She was making like thousands a month.
Especially at the price what she's probably charging. It's one of those things where it's just so far cheaper to pay for it and download it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's like you say, it's the choice of you know, if you're a big boss who's making, say, several $1,000s an hour, you ain't going to be piffling around trying to create something where you could buy it for 17 or 20, or even if you're paying somebody 17 to 20 pounds an hour, you don't want them wasting their time doing that when they're probably making like $100 or something or whatever. And that's the other thing as well. A lot of this list prices I talked about is sometimes you factor in the fact that it's not risky. It's not a lot of money to lose. It's not a risky amount for what it is. But it's just one of them prices where people can afford to do it because it's actually cheaper than them trying to do it themselves.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's a great templates and things like that. I mean, she was very obviously fast thinking. It was a template package.
Exactly. I mean, that's
forms.
That's a really good sort of tip to sort of end on, really, and that is, you know, trends, if you like, you know, jumping on trends and things like that. Especially when it comes to these sort of things, you know, something that's not going to take you that long to make. I mean, you said you don't pretty much done the whole thing in a week, but that I know, and I know that isn't a week's what we call a traditional week. You wouldn't have done it in 40, 60 hours. You know, you meant you done a little bit every day. You know, even if it was like an hour or 2 hours every day over the course of a week. You know, it wouldn't have been, you know, a 40-hour week. It would have been a lot less than that. And then
the whole idea was to show that you could create the whole system from start to finish within 30 days. And like I say, the amount of time that I spent on it, first of all, I probably didn't do 20 days work, but when you actually look at the actual hours, like I say, there have been less than a week. It certainly wasn't a full 40-hour week. The biggest part was probably the writing. I actually started off with the idea of doing a 24-page and ended up with 38-page. So I probably spent a bit more time faffing around than what I needed to do, formatting and writing. But hell, I mean, if you get carried away and do a bigger book, it's more value for your readers, isn't it?
I know people that have sold lists, literally just lists. You know, a PDF of a list of stuff. You know, and that's sold. That's perfect for the sort of, you know, $7, $10 range. One of the ones I remember sort of back in the day was it actually went on and sold loads of copies, like thousands of copies. One guy, he basically spent thousands of dollars on solo ads. And if people don't know, solo ads are when you sort of rent an email blast, if you like, from someone else's list. So they'll basically say, like, you know, $100, you know, we'll send you out, I don't know, 500 clicks or something like that. So basically he spent a lot of money on these solo ads. And as he was doing it, he was documenting every single one. And this is before, see, now there's a lot of solo ad, you know, compare sites and, you know, sort of forums and everything like that. This is before all then. So he thought, well, there's no one doing this. So as he was spending his money on there, so he was gaining twofold. He was building his list up anyway, because the solo ads were, whatever you say about them, I know, they're not exactly great, not all the time, but he was still getting some leads in. So he was building his list up anyway. And he thought, I'm going to get something back out of this. And he would document every single one that he bought. And then basically all he done was he compiled a list and then ranked every single one. And it was literally that. It wasn't like, pages and pages and pages of content. It was like, this solo ad, here's the vendor, here's the link. This is my result. I paid for 500 and I got 46 opt-ins. Okay, that's it. And it was in the money niche or whatever. And then he just literally documented the whole thing as a list, and he sold it. And he just sold a list of, that was it, a list of solo vendors with what he considered to be, they were his ratings, so it's not even comparable to anyone else.
Yeah,
you could be doing a different product, you could be doing a different list, you could be doing a different time. There's a whole load of factors which makes it completely different. Yeah. All he basically done was compile a list of vendors, and he sold it. And it went on and sold. I remember it was stupid, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars he made out of that. And it was probably 2 or 3 pages PDF. Yeah. That's it.
One I bought recently, which was more out of curiosity because the information in it I already know anyway. There's a guy list building on Facebook, so it is a little Nano product, but he was selling it to build his email list, and it was, I think it was about $4.99, about $5, so more expensive than what I was selling mine for. And it was 4 pages. It was a PDF, 4 pages outlining email marketing, which was basically, you know what it's like with the normal sort of, the first page or two will be like, I do this 5 minutes a day, it buys me freedom and all this like that. So the first page probably really didn't tell you about it. Then the second page basically says, get a website, get an opt-in page, get a product, advertise on Facebook.
Load of traffic
and it was just so sort of basic. It was basically, you probably get more information in a blog post, but he was building his email list with it. But it was 4 pages of a PDF. And like I say, the one I've done, it turned out to be 38. I was doing 24 because I thought, if I'm going to charge $2.99, it's got to be long enough to be decent, but not ridiculously long. I'm not writing a novel. I just want to make sure that someone's going to go spend £2.99 and they're going to go, to be fair, it wasn't too bad. It was worth the two. I don't want them looking at me and going, you spent $2.99. It was a 4-page PDF on, it was basically a blog post.
Literally.
But you can do that. That's the thing, though. This guy he's building his email list. So, and it helps, like I say, if you've got a website and you're building a business, or you're building an email list, it helps build up, because you might, if you're going to, the whole purpose as well of a Nano product is that don't necessarily think of it as money going into your bank to pay for coffee, like I've suggested or I've used as an example. Really, that $2.99 or the $2.74 you get once commissions and fees have gone out, is that goes back into the business.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, exactly.
It's free money, isn't it? It's just free money.
Pumping it back in, don't you?
Yeah.
Use it on ads, buy some, I don't know, whatever you want to do, get some client stuff, work done, or, whatever. Yeah.
It stops you from having to take it out of your own personal account. You've got free money coming in to help pay for some of the other stuff.
Okay, well, that was a good little chat. I think we'll wrap up there. So yeah, closing thoughts for me probably is, don't overthink it. Like Andy said, these are short. They're meant to be. They're not meant to be the absolute world beating. They're meant to just be a little bit of information, perhaps, on something that maybe the person doesn't know or is intrigued about. That you can charge a fair price. I'd suggest, like Andy said, sort of under the $10 sort of range, really. And then you can list it on your website, get yourself a Stripe payment card or a PayPal button or whatever, and there you go, you're done.
Yeah, there's not really much else I can add to that. Basically, all I would say is, don't overthink it, don't make it too big. But I would say over deliver on the price. But because you're pricing low anyway, it takes out the pressure. up to $10, most people aren't going to really kick off
No.
If there's information there, as long as if you're going to charge $10, give them $20 worth of information, but that doesn't mean you're going to have to write a Stephen King novel or a full technical detail.
No.
Or it's just got to be good. That's all. And anybody can knock out something good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it then. Really, thanks very much for listening. This is episode 39. My name's been John Banks, and I've been with.
I'm Andy Lehman, and we're both from Freedom Skills Academy. And all being well, next week we shall be happy as Larry when we win the European Championship.
Ooh, okay, bold statement. Thanks very much.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.